The legacy of Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer suspended, Robinson Canó DFA'd, Robert Murray was at the NFL draft in Las Vegas and he's got a tan.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. The Baseball Insider starts right now. Back from Las Vegas, Robert Murray. How was the NFL draft, buddy?
Dude, it was freaking electric. It was, I'll tell you, I did not have a voice for a good 2 or 3 days because I was just that jacked about the Eagles draft. Jordan Davis, A.J. Brown, Jason Kelsey's replacement. I was like, yeah, on that pick. But Nakobe Dean in the third round, Carl. Holy smokes.
Yeah, but how'd you even know who they picked? You're so tan. Weren't you just hanging out at the pool all day long?
I mean, that was a big chunk of my my early mornings and afternoons. And then, I'll tell you, the drink of summer is officially high noons. Those things are very dangerous, Carm. So
what's a high noon?
It's like a seltzer, but like just a lot better than a White Claw.
Oh, the upper level White Claw high noon situation?
Yeah, it's exactly. And boy, I'll tell you, I was drinking them like they were water. Very good. So I highly recommend the peach and the pineapple, by the way.
The peach and the pineapple. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, are we sober today?
Oh, we're very sober today. I have not had a drink since I got back.
Yeah, so all right.
I figured I should clarify that one for the record, but big high noon guy over here.
All right. So let's get into it here. The Robert Murray topics are vast and wide today. We're starting with Clayton Kershaw, who continues to just set records and beat Father Time at this point. And you want to ask the question, is Clayton Kershaw the greatest pitcher in Dodger history? Make your case, my friend.
Do I think he's the best Dodgers pitcher ever? It's between him and Sandy Koufax, obviously. And since I've watched Kershaw from the beginning, I probably have recency bias. I'll admit that right out in front and center here. But what Kershaw has been able to do throughout his career, the records that he's been able to set with this Dodgers team, it has to put him in that consideration to be the best pitcher ever in team history. And him being able to top Koufax's strikeout record the other day just further cemented that for me. And he's pitched in big games. Obviously, he had the inability to win the big game or a win World Series hanging over his head for so long. And he's finally got that monkey off of his back. And he's not done either. And he's going to continue to set records. And to his credit, there was a lot of people who wrote him off, myself included. I thought he was a shell of himself, not even just this year, but even parts of last year too. And he's continually proved me wrong. And I tip my cap to Clayton Kershaw. And I think it's time that we consider him to be the best Dodgers pitcher ever, even ahead of Sandy Koufax.
I mean, if we're going by awards, he is 3 Cy Youngs, MVP back in 2014,
Yep.
ERA titles. He's done that 4 times. Pretty damn impressive right there. He had a 300 strikeout season back in 2015. He was the first pitcher that did that, by the way, in 13 years at that point. And he's won a lot of baseball games. I still can't put him ahead of Sandy Koufax, even though I never even saw Sandy Koufax. Neither did you.
But here's the thing: is like you're putting him ahead of a pitcher that you've never even seen before
because he's Sandy Koufax. Do you think that in Sandy Koufax last year was 1966, so that's 56 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In 56 years, do you think they're going to be talking about Clayton Kershaw
in LA? Yes.
No, I'm in Chicago. I'm Sandy Koufax is an iconic name. He's Sandy damn Koufax. Like Clayton Kershaw. When I think of Clayton Kershaw, this is wrong. I'm going to admit this is wrong. But the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Clayton Kershaw, failure in playoffs. That's the narrative. I think of 2016 and the Cubs pounding away at him at good old Wrigley Field. That's unfair, and I think statistically there is no argument. He is the most accomplished, and huge long tenure. And now people are writing in the chat here, Carm, you're in the wrong generation. 35 and under don't care about Koufax. Robert Murray, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Do you care about Koufax?
I do.
So you do.
I think that was Hunter. I think that was Hunter who put that in the group chat. I apologize, Hunter. Don't hate me for that.
Take that, Fansided video. But Sandy Koufax was nails, man. Big game, Sandy. I don't know if he was ever named that, but I mean,
wait, did he have a nickname? Yeah, I'm actually curious about that now. Oh boy, Hunter is on one in the chat
now we're going overrated careers and no longevity. Now we're torching Sandy Koufax. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear: neither Carm or myself are torching Sandy Koufax. We are not the ones responsible for that.
I'm all Sandy all the time. But hey, other names, by the way, that should be in there: Don Drysdale. From we're going back in the day here. What about a Don Sutton, Bert? What about an Oral Hershiser, huh?
Oral Hershiser, great dude, by the way. He was very nice to me when I was coming up in baseball.
He was?
When I was first coming up, yep. Remember running into him at Dodger camp at spring training. And he could not have been nicer to me. So I'll always have that memory with him. So.
And, the scoreless streak right there. But and for me, for the record, I mean, I was a Fernando guy. 11, 12 years old. Fernando was looking towards the sky and just dominating. I understand that he didn't have the career that the rest of the names that we're throwing out there, but I love Fernando Valenzuela. Now you probably are not into Fernando.
Wait, hang on. I couldn't hear the question you just asked at the end.
You're not into Fernando Valenzuela. You barely even know who Fernando is.
Yeah, I was hoping you were talking about Fernando Tatis Sr.
Yeah, right.
But no,
right.
I knew you weren't, obviously, but yeah. Fernando, well, talk about a family, by the way, with the Tatises.
Yeah.
Two grand slams in one inning, and then you got Tatis Jr., who's hopefully he gets healthy soon. I'm surprised we haven't heard any updates on his rehab. But got to hope the Padres are trying to get him back soon.
You want a piece of baseball history, Bert, that our diehard, old school baseball insiders will enjoy about Fernando Valenzuela?
Let's do it. I'm in.
Valenzuela, in his first eight starts nowadays, never let him do that. Let's protect the arm, which I get it. Makes sense. He went the distance in each of his first eight starts, winning them all and allowed 4 earned runs in the process. ERA after 8 starts of throwing 9 innings each, 0.5.
Wow.
Has anyone had a better stretch to start their baseball career than Fernando, damn it?
I don't think so. That's a hell of a pull there, Carm. That was a good one. Also, I got to ask you. So, Tim Lincecum did have a good start to his career, by the way.
He didn't Fernando.
But do we ever have a pitcher, again, go 8 consecutive outings throwing a complete game? Does that ever happen?
No. And we have Kevin Millara on the podcast. It's a great conversation with Kevin coming up. Sorry you missed it, Bert. But I love talking to Kevin almost as much as I'm loving talking to you right now. Kevin's got some great stuff. And I brought up David Ross pulled one of the Cubs pitchers, and he said, in the 5th inning, the dude had thrown 4 1/3. He's 2 outs away from qualifying for a win. Cubs go on to win the game. He doesn't get the victory. And then afterwards, he knows that this is, good for his long-term future. And we don't want to push guys too hard. Push guys too hard in the 4th damn inning. That's the 5th inning, whatever. That is different.
That is very different. Yeah.
I hate it. I do. I was so happy to be at the White Sox game on Sunday and see Ohtani and Trout 2 and 3. That's amazing. But Michael Lorenzen started the game, and he's got 90 pitches going in the 9th. Joe Madden leaves him out there. Now, he didn't get through the 9th, and the White Sox ended up scoring 5 in that 9th to make a 6-0 game, a 6-5 game, and had the bases loaded with 2 outs before Gavin Sheets rolled out. It was a great ending, Bert. It was super exciting. But, Matt, hey, go ahead and complete the game. Let's get a little old school here. You're at 90 pitches. You can throw another 10 to 20 and finish it off. It didn't work out, but I liked seeing it.
Yeah. And you know what? On that note too, I think we're seeing that a little bit more, or maybe I'm just just remembering things different. But we saw the Cardinals do that with Miles Michaelis the other day. He was out, I think it was like 91 pitches or something like that going into the 8th inning, and they kept him in, and it was a scoreless ball game. And then he ended up giving up a home run, and the Cardinals took a 2-0 loss in that game. And their manager, Ali Marmol, like, he's been so good, Michaelis, I'm talking, that they believe that he could end up going into the 8th inning and pitching another inning, even with a high pitch count. It backfired on him, and it was something that Marmol admitted was a mistake. But we're starting to see maybe more and more of these managers willing to extend their guys, which I'm kind of surprised with, because we had a shortened spring training. We're still pretty early into the season. But still, I like it. May have cost both of those teams. I mean, it cost the Cardinals. It didn't cost the Angels in that case. But yeah, I like to see it. Nice change of pace.
So let's move over to the Mets and Robinson Cano, designated for assignment. He's owed $44.7 million. That's what's left on his $240 million 10-year contract that was signed with the Mariners back in 2013. 43 plate appearances, Bert. 195 the batting average, 1 homer, 3 RBIs, OPS of 501. That ain't great.
No.
But it still feels bold. I mean, early season, man, short spring training. Were you surprised by this? What's your take?
So I'm not surprised that the Mets ended up doing this, because Canó, as you mentioned with those numbers, was not good. He was somebody that they needed to move on from. And there's not many teams that would have had the cojones to pull the trigger on a move, especially with so much money left on his contract. But Steve Cohen, he is willing to eat money more than any owner that I think baseball has ever seen. And the Mets had to make a decision. Do you keep Canó and that level of production or lack thereof, or do you option a guy like Dominic Smith, Luis Guillorme, or JD Davis? And the right baseball decision was to designate Canó for assignment. And that's what they ended up doing. And they ended up offering Canó the right to be optioned to AAA to just get some minor league at bats. But that was something that he refused. As far as what his future looks like, I don't think it's overly promising. I saw John Heyman say that there's going to be some major league teams who express interest. I don't know who any of those teams would be, but he's 39 at this point, clearly does not perform well this year, has been suspended twice for PEDs. And yes, he was beloved in that Mets clubhouse, and there's some veterans who praised him for the work that he did inside that room. But I just don't know what team is going to do that. And if I was running a team, that would not be something I would do. I'd go for a better option at second base or a designated hitter at this point.
The legacy of Robinson Cano is
tainted. Yeah. I mean, the 2 PEDs, those suspensions, that ruined his legacy, and he will never get that back.
But he's walking out with quite a bunch of money. So you're saying his future doesn't look good. I think it looks pretty good. I get $44 million. I'm headed to the beach, and thank you, Major League Baseball. I had a great time playing it. And yeah, okay, people won't look at me as they once looked at me when I was a young player, mashing balls and getting all the love in Seattle. But I'm riding off into the sunset, which probably doesn't feel great on some level. But at the end of the day, there are worse things in life than to have what that dude has in front of him for the rest of the time that he's on this earth. Thank you. I'm getting way too deep here on the Baseball Insiders. Hey, Bert, left turn. Trevor Bauer suspended for 324 games and starting, now. So in essence, a 3-year suspension. What do you got for me behind the scenes, or just your own thoughts on what ended up happening with the Bauer saga?
Yeah. There had been rumors that we were going to have something coming for about a week in terms of a suspension for Bauer. I just didn't expect it to be 324 games. That number, I think, caught a lot of people off guard. But at this point, he deserved it. And even after I want to say it was immediately after that suspension came down. There was another story in the Washington Post that came out about Bauer, and Bauer profusely denied it. And he issued a statement through his agent, Rachel Luba. So I won't comment on that, but I would be shocked if he if he threw another game in Major League Baseball. I think his career is over.
Really? From a no team will give him a chance standpoint, or from, I think he's going to appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't criminally charged. I mean, baseball, I guess, has to feel like they've got more information on him that hasn't even come out. Do you have any knowledge of that?
I don't, and I won't speculate on that one. But after his suspension is up, let's say that appeal does not win that appeal, and he's suspended for 324 games. He's going to be in his mid-30s, has not thrown a pitch in the majors in 3 years. And I just don't see a team looking to bring him on and put him in that clubhouse. Just, is his talent there? Yes, absolutely. But you got to risk the talent versus the potential downside. I just don't see any team doing that.
All right, we can move on. That was just a depressing story on so many damn levels. And it's amazing how the world spins at times. But okay, we'll move on from Trevor Bauer. So Joey Votto's out there tweeting about a potential retirement, but you've got something that perhaps is actually going on here, don't you, Bert?
So I can't claim to have any insider info. Let's just call this one a gut, having followed Joey Votto's career for quite some time. But he ended up tweeting that he had like 5 months to go. And then along with that tweet was a link to, is this the end of Joey Votto's career? And it was basically a long article from Fangraphs detailing Joey Votto's struggles this year and asking something along, or actually I'll pull it up just so I'm not misquoting it.
We don't like misquotes here on the Baseball Insiders.
No, we don't. We always want to make sure we're accurate. And it was
bad business. Yes,
exactly. Is this the end for Joey Votto? Was the specific headline. And I'm going to guess, having been around Votto and knowing people around him, that he's going to use this as fuel. And that it was like a mock or a mocking of the article. And you know what? If that's what he needs to bounce back from his slow start, do it. Baseball with Joey Votto at his best is much better. Joey Votto is great for the game. And the fact that he opened up a Twitter account recently too, so people can get an even further inside look into what he is, and who he is really exciting to me. And I don't see any scenario in which Votto retires at the end of the year. That's just me speculating, not any inside info. But I also do wonder, if the Reds continue to struggle, Votto has never won a World Series ring. Is he a candidate to play elsewhere later this year or later next year? I think that is something that we are going to end up talking about more and more as a trade deadline comes through. And if he's not moved then, next offseason, because right now the Reds are, after a colossal sell-off, really bad. And that's putting it lightly.
So he's led the league in walks 5 times. He's led the league in OBP 7 times. Led the league in OPS twice. He's got 2,036 hits for his career. He's got 331 homers.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel like he's a Hall of Famer, does it?
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I do.
You do?
I do. I absolutely think he's a Hall of Famer. And I hope he is. Because I know as journalists, like, we can't root for players.
Sure you can.
You can't actively, root for them, I should say. But he's somebody I root for. Just because he's a really good human being and also really good for the game. I think, yeah. but I hope he gets in.
I mean, he's been an all-star 4 times. He's finished as high in the MVP balloting. Well, he won it. He was the MVP in his 4th season back in 2010. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he finished 2nd and 3rd as well. I mean, I'm surprised actually looking at his numbers. He's only got 2,000 hits. I would have thought it would have been more closer to 2,500.
Yeah, actually, same here. I thought he had more hits than that, but yeah, I think he's going to get in. It's not going to be unanimous by any means. Also, what is Hunter saying in the chat here?
He says he needs an end of career destination to make a World Series run with.
San Francisco Giants.
Are you catering to Hunter with that?
No, well, I'm telling you, yeah, there you go. Hunter's agreeing with it. There we go. After my early knock of Sandy Koufax, or his take on Sandy Koufax, I'm back in his good graces. But yeah, Brandon Belt's got versatility. He can play DH, go in the outfield too. Have Votto there at first base DH. I mean, that sounds like Farhan to me.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let me move on to what's going on around baseball for a second here.
Let's do it.
I was at the White Sox and Angels game on Sunday. Brought it up a little bit with Millar. That Major League Baseball should absolutely be nonstop promoting that. In the Angels lineup, you have Mickey Mantle hitting 2nd in Mike Trout, and you have Babe Ruth hitting 3rd in Shohei Ohtani. They should not, that should be literally everywhere. Multicultural, the whole thing. It's a tremendous selling point. I don't see it enough. But outside of that, the White Sox have had a really rough start to the season. The Twins are off to a great start. The Angels are off to a great start.
Mm-hmm.
What's Bert's inside take on what's happening here in the early season? And are you buying into the Angels? Are you buying into the Twins? How are you feeling about some of the surprises we're seeing?
I'm not surprised with the Angels because they focused on increasing their pitching depth and their talent in the pitching staff. Noah Syndergaard has been very good. Michael Lorenzen, he wanted a chance to start this offseason, and there was multiple teams who were willing to give him that opportunity. I can tell you there's one team that loved him, was the San Francisco Giants. And I thought that might happen, but in the end, he ended up signing a deal with the Angels. And then they also added Aaron Loop, who was regarded as the best left-handed reliever in free agency, added Ryan Tepera, who I shouted out a couple months ago as an under-the-radar candidate in free agency who's going to really help a bullpen. And lo and behold, he's done just that. And another thing, too, is they've stayed healthy. I know Shohei Ohtani just got banged up, but I don't think that's serious. And also, in a little bit, I want to mention an article that was written about Ohtani today. I want to put that on blast. And Mike Trout's healthy too. They have the makings of a really solid team. It all depends on how that pitching staff holds up, because they're going to go as far as that bullpen takes them, because that unit has derailed them in past seasons. There's been other factors too, obviously, but a bad bullpen has impacted them. But that's right now is why I'm buying into the Angels.
Well, Iglesias was brutal on Sunday. He made it as interesting as you can possibly make it, coming in, giving up 3 runs, loading the bases. Forget how many of those were his runs, but regardless, it was a 6-2 game, made it a 6-5 game, and they had to call on Ryan Tepera to come save the day, who had played for the White Sox, by the way, last season, so did it against his former team. That was interesting. All right, let us move along here to a couple of other Bert topics that we need to take down on this Baseball Insider podcast. Eric Lauer dominating with the Brewers. Look at that smile popping on your face right there as we mentioned Bert's hometown team. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I didn't even grow up a Brewer fan, so I should mention that. But so last year, I think it was even before we started doing this podcast, I was talking to an executive, and he asked me like my opinion on like some under the radar guys who I think could be pretty good. And I mentioned Eric Lauer, and we got to talking a little bit more about him. And I just said he just needs to get an opportunity. He needs to improve in certain areas, but I think if he gets an opportunity, he's going to end up being a pretty solid starter. And he's definitely exceeded my expectations this year. And Will Salmon of The Athletic ended up writing a really good story about how him emulating Tim Lincecum and another pitcher, like in an offseason workout, ended up like enhancing his career, added some velocity. And also another thing I find really interesting too with Lauer that I don't think I've ever heard of another pitcher doing is he names his pitches. I think that's really fascinating to me. Maybe I'm just an easy guy to be fascinated by, but yeah, you know what I mean? I got weird interests, but anyways.
What are some of your weird interests, Bert?
Yeah, I'm going to decline further comment on that
one. Okay.
Yeah, I'll let my spokesperson do that.
Not even one of them. It's in the PG category.
That's weird interest.
Yeah, don't force it. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of one off topic here, or off the top of my head. But Lauer, like everybody talks about Burns, Peralta, and Woodruff in that rotation, but Lauer has established himself as like a very strong number 4. And then you pair that with Adrian Hauser.
I mean,
the argument can be made. Currently, the rotation this year is better than it was last year. I know we're only 20-something games into the season. I get that, but for now, the argument can be made.
He's got the zoom ball, the riser, and the bullet. What's your favorite?
I like the zoom. I don't know why. It builds character, I think. It sounds cool.
The zoom ball is, in essence, the 4-seam fastball. The riser, which he throws with a lot of spins, he would call that more of a cutter. And the spin ball, that's your curveball. And he's working on a new name for the record on the changeup. You want to see
3 for 3 on those. That's pretty cool. I can't deny that.
How about the changeup could be the difference maker?
Well, I can forward you his number and you can pitch it to him. I don't have his number, but if I did, that'd be.
You definitely have his number the way you just said that, but now you're walking it back because you don't want to boast that you and Lauer are tight. And that's why he made this podcast, because you're best friends with Lauer.
You're on to me. You're good.
I didn't think you were going to capitulate there, Bert. You're an absolutely straight up lovely human being.
I try to be like you. Okay.
So tell me about, and you're going to have to help me with this one because I'm not following. Dinelson Lamet, is that right?
Yeah, Lamet. Yeah, with
Dinelson Lamet.
Yep.
You've got it on here that he's an intriguing early season trade candidate.
Indeed, he is.
What does Lamet bring to the table?
Very talented guy. Starting pitching background, but he comes with some injury concerns. He's dealt with some elbow issues, I believe, in recent seasons, and at one point, I believe he underwent Tommy John. But I would imagine, Dennis Lynn of The Athletic ended up reporting there was a few teams that were already interested in Lamet, and with the Padres having a strong surplus of starting pitchers and Mike Clevenger about to return from the IL, he becomes expendable. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's dealt. I don't know of anything imminent by any means, but he's somebody I could see a lot of these teams showing interest in because he's not that expensive. He's got talent. He's got a previous track record of being a very good pitcher when he's healthy. I don't know what the price it'll take to acquire him. That's something that I have not been able to lock down quite yet. But I would imagine the Padres are not going to give him up for just nothing. They're going to actually want something like meaningful in return.
His numbers aren't good, Bert.
Look, a couple of years ago, that's what teams are going to be looking at, or the Padres are going to be trying to sell.
They're going to try to sell 2020 when he started 12 games and had an ERA of 2.09. But then, I mean, that was 2020. So shortened season, right?
Mm-hmm. And at that point, the Padres are looking at him as somebody they could put atop their rotation. Right. And then he was dealing with more injuries. It would be a gamble by any team, and the Padres would not be selling high by any means. But there's going to be some team, I think, that is going to be willing to bet on that talent, because every team is going to be looking for pitching in a couple months. But why not start?
Okay. Trivia, not trivia. Guess, best guest. First manager fired this year. Anybody popping up in your mind?
Let me look at the standings real quick.
I don't know why that just came in my head, but it just did.
Yeah, because this is something I've thought about. Derek Shelton to me is safe with Pirates. I think David Bell is going to be safe with the Reds. Hunter just recommended or put the Reds in the group chat. He's in an impossible situation right now because that team has no talent.
What about Davey Martinez? Is he safe?
The pressure is off of him just because they don't have they sold a lot of their talent off last year. And I know they signed Nelson Cruz, but they don't have a roster that's capable of competing right now. They're in the midst of a rebuild. So I don't think he's going to be the first manager fired.
AJ Hinch.
Wait, AJ Hinch? Mm-hmm. You think he could be let go, Carm?
I don't know. They're 7-14. I don't, but I'm just, that's a little, they've spent some money. That's a little disappointing for the Tigers right now.
No, it is. It most definitely is. But no, one that pops into my head, I don't think this is going to end up being very likely. But Chris Woodward with the Rangers, they were not expected to win this year, but they signed Corey Seager and Marcus Semien for $500 million combined, and added a bunch of other pieces on their roster. And right now you look at them and they're 8-14. That I'm not saying it could be fired now. I'm not saying it could be fired in a month, but like the pressure's on him to at least be close to 500. And if he's not, then it would not surprise me if the Rangers look to move on.
Are you sweating between the Astros and the White Sox? Who do you think is more likely to stay where they're at? Houston right now is 12-11. They're 2.5 back of the Angels, tied with Seattle. The White Sox are 9-13, 4.5 back of first place Minnesota.
I'll say the Astros are more likely to stay where they're at, not because I think they're a 500 team or close to it, but I just can't see the White Sox being down for this long. They have so much talent on that team, Carm. I mean, you watch them every night, being in Chicago. But the one thing that scares me with them is the injury history and like the amount of injuries they're dealing with right now. Like that is a very scary thing, and that could significantly limit their ceiling if it continues throughout the entire year. I'm betting on them being healthy at some point. So if they end up like bouncing back, but yeah, that's I would imagine they're going to bounce back, and the Astros are still going to compete. I don't know how long the Angels can stay atop the AL West. That's a pretty impressive start, 15-9. And especially with the, I still keep coming back, with the Angels this offseason. They made a really out of the box hire, hiring Ray Montgomery as their bench coach. Came directly out of a prominent spot in the front office. And there was a lot of people who were questioning that when that happened, and thought that their on-field performance could end up like suffering because of it. But it's been a seamless fit there. And you see the Angels now 15-9, top the AL West. Like clearly something's working.
No doubt. Well, Robert Murray, I think we've done it. It's the end of another phenomenal episode, if I do say so myself, of the Baseball Insiders. Where did you get so tan there? I mean, for real, how many hours a day were you in the sun?
Oh, I was outside in the sun all day for like 5 days in a row. I'm absolutely glowing. I was at the gym this morning, went bright and early this morning, Carm. And I was clearly the tannest guy out there. And I'm in Arizona where everybody's tan. So boys are buzzing today. Also, the shirt color helps too, I think.
Yeah, it's a good solid pink for you.
I appreciate you. Yeah. I like the color of your hoodie, by the way.
Thank you. I believe they call this beige. Beige.
I actually did not know that was a color. So there we go.
Beige is a color. Hot dogs are not a sandwich. The Baseball Insiders is going live, coming to a local podcast near you sooner than later. So we're looking forward to that. Hit that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on. Love baseball. Get to a game, even if it's raining like it is in Chicago today with the White Sox and Cubs getting ready to tee it up on the north side. Robert, you're my hero.
Back at you, Carm. Just trying to be like you, my friend.
You're our leader. Take us to the promised land.
Onward we go. I don't know what that was.
I like a good awkwardness.